How to debug an OCaml project. In this video, we will learn how to use Utop to load a project and use Dune to build, test the project, and then add small functions to develop your project incrementally. At the end, we also see how to add user tests. Step 1, you have to download the project. So for this demo, we will use this CMSC 330 Project 2 OCaml Basics. So here's a link. Please download or clone it from the GitHub public repository. Once you download it, please read the project description carefully before you start this project. Okay, next step. So you have to install all the necessary software. That is Dune. Dune is a build tool. You have to run tests, compile using Dune. So next one is Utop. So Utop is this interactive shell. We call it top level. And then you also need all these text editors. So Emacs, Vim, or anything that you like. Okay, once you do that, now we can compile our project. Okay, so I downloaded this project 2A. I'll show you this process. So step 1, you have to build it. That is Dune, build this public tests. There's a file called public.ml. You say Dune build. Under the test, public.exe, it will compile it. So it doesn't pass the test because it's empty, but it'll compile. Then you want to run the test. That'll be, this executable is in the build folder. It's underscore build. So underscore build, default test, public.exe, then it will execute it, right? It'll execute the test case. It'll run all the tests. So if you want to say compile and run the test together, you can do Dune run test. So let's try that. Here I downloaded the project 2, and now let's look at it. So these are the files. If you check out, pull the project from GitHub, we have this README. That will be the project description. So you can read this file directly here, or go to the website, read the description there. And then this Dune-related files are just project, for the Dune project. So you can ignore that. And then we have 2 folders. That is, one of them is test, list test. In the test, we have public.ml. That's all the public test cases. And student.ml. That's for you to add, your test cases to make sure you pass all the possible cases, right? Dune is just for the Dune building tool. In the source folder, we have 3 files. Again, Dune is for the Dune project. Basics.mli is an interface, right? It's all the function signatures are in that file, MLI. So this is just a signature, say, this function, this is input, this is output. So that is all the signatures, and the implementation will be on the basics.ml. That is a file you open, eventually implement your code. So as I said, we can build, that's Dune, build, test, public.exe. Cool. So compiled. No news is good news. It compiled. It generated this folder called a build. So the executable will be in that folder. That is build, default, test, public. See? This is the file that it generated. If I run, it runs all my tests. All of them will fail. Error. You fail this test because we did not implement anything, right? Anything. As I said, you can also run Dune run test. So every time you change, if you do this, it'll compile and also run it. Just do the 2 steps together, right? Together. Now, once you compile and generate that public.exe, this is what you can do. In that public.exe, hopefully you can see it. So you can list all the tests. List, test. You must do this because you can't just open the basics.ml and implement everything, because then you'll see hundreds of failures, errors, and then you don't know where to start really. So I list all the tests. It says, okay, I have 14 tests, public 0 to public 13. There's 14 tests, right? So when you run, it runs all of them. That is crazy. It'll generate all these error messages. I do not want that. So when you really run, what you're going to do, you run one at a time. Only test public 0. If you do this, it will run only this very first task, big task, right? Why? Because when I start the project, I will implement the very first one. Because this one can be used later, so you start from the top. I will implement that, and I will test it. So definitely, it failed. So let's implement it together. So next step, once you see this error message, I say, okay, you open your editor. I'm going to open that file. That is project 2, source, basics, MLI, right? So this file is all the signatures. This is where you see what are the requirements. For example, this very first function, reverse tuple, it takes A, B, C, tick A, tick B, tick C, like a tuple with 3 elements, and then it's just reverse it, right? Reverse it. I want to implement that. So where is that code itself? It's inside the basics.ml. So this is the file that you have to add your implementations. Currently, it's all empty. They all throw exceptions. So here, right, this is the very first one. As I said, why you have to run a test one at a time? Because all of them will fail. So this is where, right, this is where add your code, for example. So we will do that together, right? We'll do that together. Cool? I'll do that. I will implement this very first one. This is from the last semester, so it's okay. This semester you may have new functions. This is from last semester. Cool. I will say let, because this is a 3-element tuple, right? I just saw that implementation, the requirement. So I say, okay, if that's 3, I'll just assign it to 3. This is like destructing. The TUP, it's a 3-element tuple, right? So I will just destruct it in. Now I will reverse them. That's CBA. That's it. So if you give me ABC, I will give you CBA. I will save it, right? I will save it. Now I have to do all that process again. That will be compile, right? That's it. Dune, build. No news is good news. It compiled. Now I can run a test. Public test 0. Run. See, it passed. So it said, okay, I skipped 13, fine, but at least this one you passed. How do you know you don't pass? If I run the next test, yeah, look at all that error message, it fails. But the very first one passes. So this is what you're going to do. Just do one at a time, right? Do one at a time, and then, right, implement everything. So let's do the next one. For example, if I give you 3 elements, I'm going to do the entire project today. If you give me 3 elements, give me the maximum. That's easy. Same thing. If you give me ABC, that's tuple. In this, right, in this, I will let the maximum is equal to max of AB in. So now I get at least the maximum of A and B. Now I return the maximum of M and the C. So that says, if you give me 3, I'll pick the maximum of 1. And then I'll pick the maximum of those 2. I save it, right? Now I compile it again, compile, and I'm going to run the second test 1. See, I passed, right? I passed. So for others, it may not be that straightforward, just one line in code. So what are you going to do? Look at that. This is critical. I'll show you now. You can say Dune, Utop, source. The source is a folder name. It has my all the implementation. Utop is that that interactive shell. What I'm trying to say is, I have in the future multiple files, all the libraries inside source. I'm going to load everything into this shell so that I can use it. Imagine in 2.16 you have multiple C files. If you want to use, you have to compile all of them. How do you debug, right? All of them put together. This is that process. Imagine you have Eclipse. You put all the Java code, and then you debug. So if I do that, cool. It loads everything to this top level. So now you can do this. all these commands, I don't think you can remember now, but you can watch the video again. Show basics. So this is the requirement. Look at that. The very first function do reverse, second one max. Now you say open. I'm going to open this thing, right? This is a module for OCaml. I want to open it. Basics. If I open it, it'll bring all these function definition to this current top level, right? Current top level. With that, now I can show reverse tuple. Look at that. So that's the definition. It said, if you give me 3 tuples, I will return a 3 tuple. Now you can test rev tuple, because I just implemented, you can test it. That's 3 for 5. Yep, it returns 5 for 3. So it said that is working so far. Now look at this, my left side of my screen. I'm going to split this thing into 2 pieces. At the bottom, I will open that test file. That is xf test public. So this is the test file we gave you. Look at that. This is what they did. So you should also open this file. Look at that. The very first test reverse tuple, they gave 1, 2, 3. They're expecting 3, 2, 1. They gave 1, 1, 1. They're expecting 1, 1, 1. Those are the test cases. For the maximum, they gave 1, 2, 3. Maximum is 3. They gave 3, 2, 1. Maximum is 3. Definitely, this test case is not good enough. It should have at least like another 3 numbers that 2 of them are same, like 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, right? Then it'll test all these different cases. So now I can test the next one. That is max tuple. That is, I'm going to give you 10, 5, 20, returns 20. So it is working, right? It is working. How about test.abs? Run test.abs. No, sorry, ABS. It's not, sorry, it is ABS. I'm looking at right here. This is an implementation of name of the function. I'll call ABS call. It said ABS is in function. If I give you a number, yes, as you expected, it'll throw an exception because you did not implement it yet. Remember? Look at that. It said you did not implement. So what you're going to do, so you come here, you say, ABS is not implemented. So I will implement it, right? ABS is if x is less than, greater than 0, x. Else x times minus 1, right? That's my ABS function, right? ABS function. Now, if you load it again, I load it again, open, basics. What is it? It's uppercase, okay? That module name starts with uppercase, basics. Now I'm going to call ABS 10. Remember, it didn't work earlier. I'll try again. It worked, right? It worked. If you want to test it, exit, you compile. These steps are tedious. I'm going to compile. Good. Now this test is the third test. I'm going to run the third test. Number 2, passed. Look at that. I passed 3 tests already. How many tests total? 14. So you will finish everything in an hour. If you teach this class for 10 years. So these are the tests. You implement all of them. Let's do another one. A little bit more from part 2. That is length. It said length. So what is length? I don't know. I have to go to the description. It said factorial length. Length says, look at that. Length says, I'll give you a number, right? If I give you a number, tell me how many digits. The easiest way, convert into a string, get the length. But we want to just get 1 digit, divide by 10, get 1 digit. When it becomes 0, it'll stop. So that you see this loop, right? I want to implement that. So look at that. These are the things I did. I loaded the source file to Utop, open basics, and then look at this function names, right? This is how you list all the tests. and then run a single test. I showed you, right? So now let's do the other one. That is the length. Please look at here. I'll implement, that is, it says if x is an integer, that is, if, yeah, so it needs something that you didn't see it yet, because in the loop, you have to remember, right? You have to remember how many digits you have seen so far. You didn't learn it yet. Let me just cheat. That is string length string of int x. Yeah? Okay, now let's compile. Good news. List the test. This test length is number 10. I'm going to test that. That is test number 10. Voila, I passed, right? So this is what you're going to do, right? So we put all together. I'll show you again. You download it. You open the file right here. Look at the test cases right here so that you know which test is testing what. For example, look at that. That is this test, rev tuple. So it's a testing right here. These are the test cases. So when you write your code, you look at these numbers so that you know what to do, right? You know what to do, because sometimes description may not be very clear. And then you repeat this process again and again. That is, you compile, you run a test. If you pass, move to the next one. If you fail, fix it. If you cannot fix it directly here, load it into Utop and then look at it. Then it'll show you more errors, okay? Then what else? I think that'll be it. Just these steps. Do not take this project and then run this entire test. This is, if you do this, do run test, it'll give you all the errors. And then you fix one of the problem and then run it again, and then you go all the way to the top and find it. Oh, yeah, I passed this. This will make you crazy. Look at this, all these error messages. Do not do that. What you have to do is load it to Dune, Utop, source. Yes, you will see it all here. That is open, basics, and then show what is in the basics. It said, this. And then you say, okay, show me the length. What does it do? A length takes an integer, returns an integer. What does it do? Go to see the description and come back here and implement it. So now you see the process. In the future, we will give you a project. It has multiple modules. It doesn't matter. You just have to open it, look at the content, and then just implement step by step. Incrementally, right? Because you implement this small thing, test it out, and then later you may see somewhere you need to reverse something. You can call this function, okay? Call this function. Hopefully everybody can do this. If we said implement your solution, incrementally, one at a time, one small function at a time, test it, move to the next one. If you're stuck, get help. There's Piazza, there's office hours, there's email. If you want to email me, email directly. Do not send me messages from Elms, because that is delayed. I'll receive it a couple of days later. Grade scope, please. Do not wait until the last minute. Submit, see what it says, and then continue. At the worst case, if your laptop is broken, at least you have a copy. And then you find another laptop, download the code, and you can continue, okay? We only give you public tests. There are more secret tests. So for that, what you're going to do, you open that file, this file here, xf student. This is a student test, right? So you add more tests there, and then you can also test it. That is what you're going to do. Instead of the public, this time I compile student, exe. And then you run You run, look at that here. Instead, public exe, you run student exe. Yeah, there's no tests. So you add more tests, like if you're not sure, max should work with equal numbers, you can add it and then test it there. But you don't have to submit this. That concludes this YouTube video. I'll take a question. Oh yeah, Dune clean. If you don't want it, clean, it will delete all that thing you compiled. Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.